Part 11. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 101. Beijing. The night was as dark as ink, 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. The moonlight penetrated the sparse clouds, dyeing every corner of the alley deeply, and sprinkled on the bluestone road of the alley, forming mottled light and shadow. Lin Xian hugged the sleeping Mu Qingtian and walked into the courtyard. Mu Qingjian followed his footsteps and accompanied him. Entered the backyard. Lin Xian went to Mu Qingtian's bedroom and put the clingy fairy on the princess bed. Go take a bath. Mu Qingjian bent down and helped her sister take off her clothes. Okay. Lin Xian left the bedroom and prepared to take a bath. It's comfortable to be home. Not only does each room have a bathroom, but there is also a separate bathroom for bathing. After putting the bath water in place, Lin Xian threw his body into the hot water. An indescribable comfort almost made him groan. He closed his eyes and quietly enjoyed the warmth of the hot water. Feeling the fatigue quickly leaving his body, Lin Xian sighed. After rebirth, he decided to give up the plain and boring life of a rich man. He resolutely chose to continue to be a police officer. But when he really came into contact with the comfort zone, he found that he seemed to be a fool in the past. Is he really stupid? Lin Xian smiled silently. His dream has never changed. Suddenly, a pair of soft hands fell on his shoulders. Gently massaged his shoulders and neck. Lin Xian did not open his eyes and enjoyed it calmly. She is my sister. Isn't it right for the sister to serve the brother, or the brother to serve the sister? Lu Yan said that your contribution this time is too great. Mu Qingjian's voice is very soft and elegant, like silk. It has a unique rhythm, soft and pleasant. Well, I'm not bragging. Lin Xian smiled and said, there are not many cases solved by police all over the world that are bigger than my case. I'm going to pretend to, no, it's too vulgar. In front of her sister, this is called showing off. Ha. A gentle laugh sounded behind her, and Mu Qingjian patted her brother's head. Don't you feel ashamed to say such things? For some reason, it feels so good now. At home, there is a sister who acts like a spoiled child and a brother who brags. She cooks for you and spoils them. There will be an inexplicable warmth in your heart, and you will be very happy. Lin Xian smiled proudly. Sure enough, people still have to pretend to be cool. Not only can it make yourself happy physically and mentally, but it can also make others feel itchy. Very cool. How dare you say those words to them? Mu Qingjian rubbed his shoulders, just for peace of mind. Lin Xian. There is a panic feeling of having your home address published online. Lu Yan said that, right? How can you betray your subordinates like this, so damn shy? At that time, he was also hot-headed, and those leaders were embarrassed to say something pretentious and ran away. Just want peace of mind? It's easy to say, how many people in this world can do it? You still know how to blush. Mu Qingjian smiled sweetly and pinched his cheek. She asked me to tell you a message. What did the Imperial Army ask you to tell? Lin Xian twitched his mouth. What? Your contribution is too great, and I can't give you a matching reward. Mu Qingjian whispered softly, you won't be angry, right? Angry? Lin Xian smiled indifferently. It is natural to have rewards for your efforts. Policemen are also people. They also hope to get promotions and salary increases after meritorious service. But if you become a policeman for promotion and salary increase, then your nature has changed. That's not a policeman. A pair of jade hands paused, and Mu Qingjian stared at him blankly. A little dazed. Thinking of what Lu Yan said to her on the phone. Lu Yan, he is too strong, with strong ability and strong force. He seems to be a monster, but he also has a fatal flaw, which is too reckless. In order to solve the case, he is worried that his colleagues will be injured and sacrificed, so he will rush to the front in the process of catching criminals. I have seen many policemen like this, and they are often the ones who are most likely to sacrifice. But sometimes, it is these people who can make everyone bow down and be willing to follow them. Become the one in the hearts of countless people at a certain moment. The one who raises his arm and calls for help. This evaluation is not ordinary high. It even makes people tremble with fear. Raise your arm and call for help, and people will respond in large numbers. This is the charm of a leader. Deputy Section Level, Second Level Police Inspector, First Class Merit. Mukinjian, who came back to her senses, sighed, "Your reward." Lin Xian was stunned. He looked like he was doubting his life. He was not surprised to be given a first-class merit. It was normal for the police rank to be promoted to second-level police inspector. When he heard the deputy section level, he was almost numb. He had just joined the Special Criminal Case Task Force not long ago. Or how long has he been a police officer in this life? On the day he just joined, when Lu Yan asked him to write an application to join the party, he was very confused. So casual? A person who is not even a member of the league, has no experience of joining the league. Directly write an application to join the party? The question is here again. He is not even a party member now, how can he be promoted? Because anyone who has joined the party knows how slow the process is. If it is fast, it will take a year and a half, if it is slow, it will take several years, or even no progress. So, is it scientific? You are already a party member, special things will be handled specially. Mu Qingjian looked at her silly brother and chuckled. Just like Qingtian said, this brother is silly sometimes, which is very cute. Lin Xian, cute. Seriously? Are you talking about this rough guy like me? It's still not right. Lin Xian was surprised. Clerk, section officer, deputy section officer, 3 levels in a row. Yes, otherwise how can you say that your contribution is so great? Mu Qingjian nodded. If you were older and higher in rank, you might be given an honorary title, what a pity. Honorary title. Even the honorary title of a police officer is a top honor. It will be recorded in the National Merit Book. The family tree can let you open a separate page, or even a separate book. This kind of honor. It is already the highest honor that police officers dream of. Unfortunately, Lin Xian is too young and the national conditions do not allow it. What else do you want? Lin Xian's face showed ecstasy. 22-year-old deputy section officer? My God, it's scary. If you are still not satisfied, then you are greedy and want to die. Your colleague Wang Meng has applied with Lu Yan to resign from the position of leader of the Special Criminal Case Team. Mu Qingjian gently rubbed her brother's shoulder, and said in a light tone, he also recommended you to take over as the leader. This is embarrassing me, fat tiger, Lin Xian frowned. But soon his brows relaxed and he said nothing. Wait until they return to Beijing, and invite your colleagues to have a meal at home. Mu Qingjian patted his shoulder, stood up and said, I'll cook a few dishes and ask them to come to the courtyard. Looking at his sister's back as she left, Lin Xian slowly froze. I don't know how long it took, and a smile appeared on his face. It seems that what I promised my mother should be done soon. Girlfriend. But I don't know which one to take back at that time. It's a headache. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Qiseun Zhong. Chapter 102. 3 poles in the sun. The sun shines through the curtains and onto the soft bedding, creating a blanket of warmth. The bedroom is filled with a warm and comfortable atmosphere. Lin Xian woke up and felt the soft touch in his arms. Her skin is like silk and her waist is like a green willow. That perfect body seems to be specially designed to seduce men into committing crimes. Open your eyes slowly. He glanced at the octopus-like goblin who was sleeping soundly in his arms. I was careless and didn't dodge. Lin Xian twitched the corner of his mouth. By the way, when did this little pervert enter the room? Very strange. Ever since he considered the Mew sisters' courtyard home. Just come back here. That super strong sense of perception seemed to be malfunctioning. Sleep a little longer? Lin Xian closed his eyes, hugged Mu Qingtian and buried his cheek in her hair. I don't know how long it has been since I fell asleep. Until Mu Qingjian's voice sounded beside the bed. It's noon, let's all get up and eat. Oh, don't you remember it? Mu Qingtian was babbling like a lazy pig, burying her cheek in her brother's chest, wanting to continue sleeping. There was a snap. Mu Qingjian slapped her sister on the buttocks. Believe it or not, I'll kill you. Go take a shower quickly. Hey, you know how to bully people. Mu Qingtian got up crying. Surrender to the power of my sister. When her sister ran to take a shower, Mu Qingjian looked at Lin Xian on the bed and raised the corners of her lips. Can't you get up? Lin Xian couldn't pretend anymore. He opened his eyes with an embarrassed smile on his face. Get up and wash up. During lunch. Mu Qingtian's lazy ass can hardly carry it anymore. The little bird sat on Lin Xian's lap, waiting to be fed. I had a crazy night of fun yesterday and returned to Beijing in the middle of the night. I was exhausted. Don't spoil her. Mu Qingjian looked at Lin Xian who was feeding her sister and frowned. It's okay, she's grown up, so she can't be spoiled. Lin Xian picked up the dish and placed it in the charming fairy's mouth. The little elf shook his head proudly and made faces at his sister. With your IQ, can't you really see that she is pretending to be a child? Mu Qingjian glared at her sister, showing her off maliciously. What do you want to do? Mu Qingtian narrowed her eyes, staring at her sister like a lazy fox. She plays the child, you play the sister, and I play the brother. Lin Xian didn't care much. Isn't this good? The two girls were slightly stunned. Unconsciously. Their pear curls were light, they bit their lips, and their beautiful eyes were smiling. At this moment, the two sisters looked exactly the same. Let's go out for a drink and we'll go back to Beijing. Wang Meng's loud voice came from the phone. Everyone is waiting for you. What are you waiting for me for? Lin Xian deliberately teased, I don't even want to be a policeman anymore. Don't be ridiculous. Wang Meng laughed and scolded, if the ministry can let you go, I will have the same surname as you from now on. Lin Xian's ability is obvious to all. Only the superiors above would let such a person go if they had a seizure. Many people like capable pricks. The more naughty children are, the more promising they are. Come to my sister's house, come to my house. Lin Xian smiled and said, I want to treat you to dinner. When I said this sentence, I felt inexplicably warm in my heart. Not everyone can enter the Mew sisters' courtyard house. Mu Qingjian said that last night. Because the people in the severe special criminal case task force are all his colleagues. There is a word called Iwajiwu. Your home. Wang Meng's voice was strange. Do you have your own house in the capital? Many people have been busy all their lives in the capital and cannot even afford a toilet. It's my sister's house. We'll live together temporarily. Lin Xian didn't explain anything. Come here, let's get together. Okay. Wang Meng didn't ask any more questions. I'll tell the others and I'll call you when the time comes. Ended the call. Lin Xian told the Mew sisters that his colleagues were coming to his house for dinner. Mu Qingjian nodded. Mu Qing smiled sweetly. Let's go. The little goblin took his hand and ran towards the entrance. Let's go buy groceries. Lin Xian casually reached out and took Mu Qingjian's hand. The three of them walked out of the house. In the supermarket, the fruit, vegetable, and meat section. Lin Xian pushed the shopping cart and looked at the two girls who were picking vegetables not far away. There is an illusion. It seems that I am shopping with my wife and children in the supermarket. Previous life. Lin Xian also once thought about what a home would look like. There is a big sofa and a small kitchen. There is a child jumping up and down in front of me. A wife brought hot meals and soup. Lin Xian looked at them quietly, grinning. Smiling like a fool. Brother, are you looking at beautiful women too? A young man stood in front of Lin Xian, looked at the Mu sisters, and sighed, those female stars are so weak compared to them, this is the goddess. Yes. Lin Xian came back to his senses with a strange expression, I thought so too. A four-waist, peach butt, cartoon legs, oh my god. The young man's saliva was almost drooling, these legs are longer than my life. Since you like it, why don't you add us on WeChat? Lin Xian's eyes were playful. Forget it, people should know themselves. The young man shook his head, not everyone can be the man of this kind of goddess. Yes, I think so too. Lin Xian's expression was serious, I think their men must be the kind of handsome, extraordinary, outstanding, and admirable existence. What are you doing? Mu Qingtian took her sister's hand, turned her head, and rolled her eyes with her amorous peach blossom eyes, calling in a coquettish voice, come here quickly. Well, no matter how cheap it is, I'm leaving first, you continue to look at the goddess. Lin Xian glanced at the young man beside him who was already stunned and doubting his life. He walked towards the Mu sisters with a comfortable mind and body. After a long time, the young man came back to his senses, and his mouth twitched. Can people be so shameless? Although pretending to be cool is the nature of most men. But this one is too humming good at pretending. Looking at the three intimate men and women. The world is going downhill, and you are in love with me. What an adulterous couple, oh no. What a sweet couple. But it's not right. One man, two women. Huh. The young man's tears of envy flowed from his mouth. He is really good at that, and he was hummed by a dog. When can I be as good as him? What did that man say to you just now? Walking out of the supermarket, Mu Qingtian took her brother's arm and asked with a smile. Mu Qingjian was also looking at him. We discussed some topics between men. Lin Xian said seriously, he said to me, brother, you look good, extraordinary, and a rare talent. He said that when he saw me, he immediately felt a sense of admiration. Ha ha. The two women laughed so hard that they almost laughed to death. I just like my brother's serious and shameless attitude. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 103. In the afternoon, the sun was shining. The three siblings were busy in the kitchen, as there were many guests coming today. This was the first time that Lin Xian saw Mu Qingtian's cooking skills. He was surprised to find that she was actually better at cooking than her sister. I remember she said, play with me, and I'll make delicious food for you. This little goblin didn't lie to me, she's really good at pretending. She's obviously a charming queen, but she likes to pretend to be a child. She's obviously a great cook, but she's usually too lazy to cook. Mu Qingjian is the same. A goddess with a cold appearance, but she knows how to fight. She's usually noble and dignified, but there's a wild cat in her heart. These two sisters are really good at acting, and they play quite rebelliously. You're so clumsy, I'll teach you. Looking at her brother kneading the dough, Mu Qingtian smiled and mocked. She leaned into his arms and taught Lin Xian how to knead the dough. Mu Qingjian on the side was changing the knife and making cold dishes. From time to time, he glanced at them, and smiled at Lin Xian. It was around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Wang Meng and other team members had already arrived outside the alley. They all looked shocked as they looked at Lin Xian, who came to pick them up. They all looked like they were too shocked and didn't want to talk. "Good guy, you are hiding very well? It seems that any courtyard house in this alley is worth $1 billion, right? Not only is he handsome, he can also fight. Not only can he fight, he is actually rich. Not only is he rich, he lives in a courtyard house. Why are you all standing there like an idiot? Let's go." Lin Xian smiled and waved, turned around and led the way. Everyone looked at each other and followed behind him. When they walked into the courtyard, they saw a pair of extremely beautiful twins smiling and welcoming them. Their hearts were all sour. No, as long as they were men, they would be sour and become lemon essence. Front yard living room. Everyone sat down. Mu Qingtian lost her childishness. She became a dignified and charming queen. She showed off her tea art in front of her brother's colleagues. She played with small tea bowls and teapots. Mu Qingjian also brought cigarettes and lighters. She placed a box in front of each colleague. They were all the special supplies that Lin Xian usually smoked. Wang Meng and others were shocked again. The two girls' strong ladylike temperament and the nobleness of the high-class courtyards. They all shocked them deeply. They didn't dare to have any blasphemous thoughts in their hearts. "What are you doing, talking, smoking?" Lin Xian smiled and said, "Just treat it as your own family." He also waved to the two sisters in a pretentious manner, "Go cook." The two girls smiled and stood up, rolled their eyes at him, and walked towards the kitchen. They brought the almost cooked meals to the dining room. In fact, it was not that Lin Xian wanted to show off. It was that the aura of the Mu sisters was too strong. With them around, colleagues would be too reserved. The two women left. Wang Meng and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. They all looked at Lin Xian with complicated eyes. "Brother, tell the truth." Zhan Xiaoyang winked and asked, "Are you a second-generation kid?" "I am a second-generation kid." Lin Xian laughed and shook his head, "If you don't believe me, go check my file." His file is that of an ordinary person with an ordinary family. Of course, there are some things that Wang Meng and the others can't see. Even Lu Yan, the deputy secretary of the department, doesn't have that authority. "Is she really your sister?" Zhan Xiaoyang looked unconvinced, his eyes suspicious and fiery. "You are really a hidden talent, and you are playing very well." Everyone also cooperated, showing a look that all men understand. Get out, it's really my sister." Lin Xian laughed and scolded, "But, I did it. I did it." Everyone nodded with a smile, and the teasing became more obvious. "How many times do you say do it?" Gossiping is not just a hobby for women. Men also like it, very gossipy. For men, talking dirty is always an interesting and time-killing entertainment. The Mu sisters are not here, and the atmosphere is gradually lively. There are bursts of laughter from time to time. The living room is filled with laughter. Wait for the Mu sisters to bring the food to the table and ask everyone to eat together. Everyone is shocked again. Looking at the bottles of famous wine that are only in legends and have never been seen. The mood is even more complicated. When the Mu sisters hold the wine glasses and toast everyone. Everyone stood up. "Thank you for taking care of our brother on weekdays." Mu Qingjian is generous and generous, with a smile on her cheeks. "I will also trouble everyone to take care of you in the future." Mu Qingtian also smiled softly and raised the wine glass. Everyone cheers. A meal. Eat from 5 in the afternoon to 8 in the evening. It's time to go. Wang Meng stopped the two girls from getting more wine. "Don't get drunk, in case there is an emergency mission and you need to report." Everyone went to the hall, and the two girls cleaned the table. A group of old men were smoking cigarettes. Guo Su sighed, "It feels like this life is worth it." Everyone nodded. "I saw the courtyard. I tasted the top-notch wine. I saw the stunning beauty. It was really an eye-opener. But they could also feel that Lin Xian really didn't treat them as outsiders. I am also getting along with them sincerely. Otherwise, they will never have the chance to appear in this courtyard in their lifetime. They can see more clearly that the sisters of the Mu family put their attitude and status extremely low. If Lin Xian was not here today, are you worthy of being toasted by the sisters? Your life is too cheap, Lin Xian complained in his heart. After chatting and laughing for a while, Wang Meng and others said goodbye. Lin Xian and the two sisters saw them off and sent them to taxis. In a taxi, Wang Meng and Guo Su sat together, and the drunken look gradually disappeared. I found a lot of colleagues. Guo Su said softly, one of them is quite scary. Wang Meng's face changed. The colleagues mentioned by Guo Su are the colleagues in the past, soldiers. They are all hidden in that courtyard, you can't see them. Guo Su's tone was full of sighs, guards. Wang Meng's expression did not change. Or rather, they were numb. Seeing the sisters of the Mu family, they had guessed something. Is it hard to accept that there are guards in the courtyard? Lin Xian, is he really an ordinary person? Wang Meng couldn't quite understand. In today's era, people say that they no longer value the right match. Only those who really understand know that this is all bullshit. The so-called right match has never changed. So, how could Lin Xian be an ordinary person? Is an ordinary person worthy of standing next to the sisters? Just from the close attitude of the two girls towards Lin Xian. You said that something happened between him and the Mu sisters, and everyone believed it. Is it reasonable? Since he is willing to treat us as colleagues, friends, and brothers. Guo Su smiled and said, why think so much? Wang Meng was stunned, suddenly enlightened, and nodded with a smile. The brothers that can make them look at our people, not other things. Do you still need to care? No need. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 104. Night. The living room is surrounded by warmth and tranquility. Like a haven away from the hustle and bustle. Lin Xian, who was slightly drunk, leaned on the sofa. Mu Qingjian put the toasted cigar in his mouth. How are you doing? Mu Qingtian, who was resting her head on her younger brother's thigh, put down her phone and looked at him. Like a fairy who is just being nice, very gentle, and gentle. Well, you performed really well. Lin Xian smiled and stretched out his hand to pinch her cheek. The Mu sisters gave him too many looks today. Mu Qing smiled sweetly and continued playing with her phone. When I go to work tomorrow, there will be an award ceremony. Mu Qingjian warned her younger brother, when you see that man again, speak politely. He has a good relationship with my father. Lin Xian. Who is this that one? An old man wearing a white shirt appeared in his mind. In the entire Dragon Kingdom, there are a total of 2 chief superintendents and 39 deputy chief superintendents. It is divided into 2 major ministries, the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of National Security. There are 22 deputy chief inspectors in the Ministry of Public Security. Although they are all at the ministerial level, but there is a big difference between a deputy chief inspector and a deputy chief inspector. And that old man is the number 1 deputy chief inspector. It is difficult for others to have a good relationship with this old man. Not to mention, this old man has a good relationship with others. Mu Qingjian's father. Lin Xian's head was a little down and he was too lazy to think about it. Anyway, it's scary. Look, look. Mu Qingtian looked shocked and raised her phone to show her brother, wow, it's so scary. Lin Xian turned around and saw a muscular man appearing on his phone. Mr. Bodybuilder. Looking at the muscular man who was too exaggerated and looked like a beast. He was thinking, can this guy block my full punch? It should be, that's enough. It is sometimes a headache for me to face my monster-like power after rebirth. What would you do if he punched your sister? Mu Qingtian held her brother's hand in her majestic arms, looking forward to it and acting coquettishly. I should be able to. Lin Xian twitched the corner of his mouth, kneel down directly. Mu Qingtian. Puff. Mu Qingjian laughed out loud and pinched him. Kneel down. Mu Qingtian had a black line on her forehead and she gritted her silver teeth. Why are you kneeling down? Why are you so timid? Why are you so timid? Lin Xian said matter-of-factly, I kneel down because I want to give you artificial respiration. You really want me to die? Mu Qing smiled angrily. He sat up, feeling angry, and kicked him with his white and tender feet. He gritted his teeth and said, Thank you. You're welcome. Lin Xian looked generous and played with his feet. We are siblings, you're welcome. If it's not that serious, there's no need to do artificial respiration. Mu Qingtian turned away faster than turning the pages of a book, showed a charming and seductive smile, leaned into her brother's arms, and whispered, What will you do? Then, forgive him. Lin Xian suppressed a smile and said, It's okay anyway. Ah! Mu Qingtian pounced and pushed her brother down on the sofa. The little foot stepped on Lin Xian's face. You piece of shit, you forgive my sister even after she was beaten, are you a coward? I don't. Lin Xian was stepped on and muffled, even if I'm a coward, why are you rewarding me? Kill you. Mu Qingtian yelled, jumped on him, opened her mouth and bit him. Do not do that. Lin Xian said happily, there's a lot of saliva, it's dirty. You think your sister's saliva is dirty? Mu Qingtian hugged his face like crazy. Kiss him on the mouth. Time seems to be stuck. Lin Xian was stunned. Mu Qingjian, who was watching the show, was also stunned. Even Mu Qingtian was stunned when she kissed her brother on the mouth. Who said your saliva was dirty? What I said was that you just stepped on me with your feet. Don't you think your feet are dirty? Lin Xian sighed silently in his heart. Ah! Mu Qingtian screamed and jumped up. He ran away like a shy deer. Nothing, Lin Xian rolled his eyes and moved his head. Resting on a pair of slender legs. Mu Qingjian. Lin Xian. Neither of them spoke. Seeing that he was not beaten, Lin Xian stretched out his hand and took advantage of the situation. He grabbed a small white hand and placed it on his chest. Don't go too far. Mu Qingjian lowered her face. Lin Xian remained silent and pretended to be a dead dog. The living room was silent. There was only the sound of two people breathing. She ran away on purpose. Lin Xian took a puff of his cigar and blew out a smoke ring. I know. Mu Qingjian curled her lips. She has watched her grow up as a younger sister. Is this to make them, a world for two? I'll go check on my work tomorrow. If nothing happens, I'd like to go home. Lin Xian asked softly, would you like to go to my house to play? Mu Qingjian. Forget it if I don't go. Lin Xian pretended to be a poor child that no one wanted. Don't be naughty. Mu Qingjian glared at him, but she couldn't tell that he was testing her. Go take a shower. Lin Xian chuckled, would you like to give me a massage? Exploring wildly on the edge of the cliff again. Mu Qingjian glanced at him. Her eyes were bright and deep, as if there was some kind of emotion rippling. She didn't even say anything. She stood up and left. Ha ha, cough cough cough. Lin Xian laughed and choked himself while smoking. Damn, is this what it means to be overjoyed? Lin Xian put the cigar on the ashtray. After sitting for a while, he got up and walked to the bathroom. No surprise. The bath water was ready. Mu Qingjian was not in the bathroom. Lin Xian took off his clothes and took a comfortable bath. In a daze. A pair of small hands fell on his shoulders. I can't say it, but it's coming. Ha, woman, Lin Xian raised the corner of his mouth. Enjoy the massage of his sister's tender little hands. Soon, the smile froze. I found that the little hands were pressing, and something was wrong. They fell on his chest and his abdominal muscles. Opening his eyes, Lin Xian saw a pair of charming peach blossom eyes. "Oh, you're disappointed, who are you waiting for?" Mu Qingtian pouted, looking like a seductive woman in the boudoir. "No." Lin Xian quickly denied it and smiled, "I'm waiting for you." "Humph, didn't you take a bath without showing it to your sister?" Mu Tian snorted, her face full of disdain. But the corners of her mouth betrayed her. She wanted to pretend to be angry, but a pair of arms suddenly lifted her up. Put her in the bathtub. Before she could scream, she fell into her brother's arms. "You like taking a bath, right?" Lin Xian hugged her, leaned against the bathtub and smiled, "Then let's take a bath together." "You're so bad." Mu Qingtian was half angry, and hit him with her little fist. She was tired of hitting him. She found a comfortable position and lay in his arms. "Sister." Did I say I like you?" "No." "Oh, forget it if I didn't say it." Mu Qingtian screamed and got up, punching and kicking Lin Xian. A new round of beatings began. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 105. The bedroom in the early morning was gradually awakened by the soft dawn. The sun outside the window rose slowly like a shy girl. Lin Xian opened his eyes and looked at the beauty in his arms. Too arrogant, she doesn't even carry people, right? Thinking back to last night, the little bitch secretly climbed his bed again. I couldn't help but want to laugh. They are all strong talkers, and they are very cowardly when it comes to real swords and guns. Looking at Mu Qingtian, who was sleeping in SpongeBob pajamas, he lowered his head and kissed her little mouth. This time, he could kiss her openly. "Sleep a little longer." Mu Qingtian snuggled into his arms like a kitten, and put her head against his chin. "I have to go to work." Lin Xian gently patted her back and coaxed her. "So annoying." Mu Qingtian opened her hazy sleepy eyes, raised her face, and bit his lips. Lin Xian chuckled and got up. He covered her with a thin blanket and then got out of bed. Mu Qingtian's peach blossom eyes flashed with enchanting charm, looking at her brother's back. Then she slowly closed them, smelled the smell he left on the quilt, and slowly fell asleep. After washing, she came to the living room. Mu Qingtian had already gotten up early. She was sitting on the sofa in the living room, reading a book elegantly. "Awake?" "Yeah." "What about her?" "She stayed in bed." "Let's eat." "Okay." Is this a shameful question and answer session? Lin Xian walked to the dining room. The two sat at the dining table and ate breakfast quietly. "Sister." Biting a piece of bun, Lin Xian's mouth was unclear. "Do you like me?" "Yes." Mu Qingtian looked at him with cold eyes. "I like your shameless confidence." Lin Xian. The whole world was instantly dull. Grunting, eating depressedly. Sure enough, as a single dog for 2 lifetimes, he still can't learn the love words that make people pee. Seeing his depressed look, Mu Qingtian pouted quietly, and then smiled gently. "Do you like me? The first time I saw you, I even named my child." Lin Xian raised his head and bared his teeth. "Get lost," Mu Qingtian scolded with anger and laughter. He, Lin Xian smiled triumphantly. Single dog won back another round and gave himself a thumbs up. After dinner, Lin Xian stood in the kitchen and watched Mu Qingtian wash the dishes. He couldn't help but gently put his arms around her waist from behind. Mu Qingtian's delicate body trembled and tensed, but slowly relaxed again. "Continue to wash the dishes." Lin Xian's chin drooped on her shoulder, humming a song. "If you can't control it anymore, think of me once a day, if you are real because of me. Mu Qingjian listened quietly, her lips slowly lifted, and leaned in his arms. Her cheeks bloomed with a smile, and her smart eyes flashed with a smile. It turned into a pair of crescent moons. At the door, Mu Qingjian was tidying up the police uniform for her brother. She looked like a gentle goddess. A goddess who can be desecrated. If you are not busy at work, you can visit your parents. The goddess said softly, go home early. Yes. Lin Xian stood at attention and saluted, I promise to complete the task. Mu Qingjian's beautiful eyes were a little hazy. Looking at his back as he walked out the door. Waved his hand. Ministry of Public Security. Lin Xian walked into Lu Yan's office. Has our great hero finally come to work? Lu Yan smiled and stood up, greeted him, and teased him. You will have no friends if you talk like this. Lin Xian was embarrassed. You look the most handsome in a police uniform. Lu Yan looked at the tall and handsome little guy in front of her. If I hadn't gotten married early, I would definitely compete with the girls of the Mu family. Lin Xian. That's not love, that's what you're after. I won't tease you anymore. Lu Yan had teased him enough and patted his shoulder, let's go. The two walked out of the office and went to the top floor. Lu Yan led Lin Xian to the door of an office. When he saw the sign on the door of the office, Lin Xian's scalp tingled slightly. Office of the Executive Deputy Minister. There is a saying, if you lead a department but not a permanent one, you will be busy all your life in vain. There are many ministers, but few of them are permanent ones. Wait a minute. A middle-aged secretary was smiling at the two. Lu Yan and Lin Xian nodded. About 10 minutes later, a man in a white shirt uniform came out. When he saw Lu Yan, he smiled and nodded. When he saw Lin Xian, he was slightly stunned again and smiled and said, are you here? Lin Xian raised his hand to salute. He had seen this man in Lekang. One of the white shirts with Lu Yan and others. The other party was very considerate and raised his hand to return the salute. He smiled and nodded, come visit me when you have time. This was not a polite remark, but a sincere invitation. Sure. Lin Xian watched the other party leave. Come in. The middle-aged secretary opened the office door. Lu Yan and Lin Xian walked into the office. An old man was sitting behind his desk, wearing a pair of glasses and looking at a document. Salute. Lin Xian and Lu Yan raised their hands to salute. The old man put down the document and raised his head. There was a light passing through those clear eyes, as if revealing a trace of wisdom that saw through the world. Falling on Lin Xian, next time, if you dare to take off that police uniform again, watch out for your butt. Lin Xian. His face immediately turned red. His feet dug into the floor, and he almost dug out a 2-bedroom, 1 living room. The old man stood up. At this time, the middle-aged secretary brought a handbag. The old man took it and handed it to Lin Xian with a serious expression. Lin Xian? Didn't take out the items in the handbag. Go to work. The old man waved his hand and said with a smile. The two saluted and left the office. Lin Xian came with a confused face and left with a confused face. He didn't understand the situation at all. Until he left the top floor and returned to Lu Yan's office. Take it out and have a look. Lu Yan's eyes were teasing. Lin Xian picked up the handbag, opened it and looked complicated. 2 metal boxes. He had seen this box once, and there was another one. But now it has been occupied by Mu Qingtian. First class police medal, 2. Where is the medal ceremony that was promised? Lin Xian raised his head, his face full of confusion. There won't be a medal ceremony, don't you even look at your own age. Lu Yan opened the drawer of her desk, took out a pair of epaulets, and walked closer. If I really want to hold a medal ceremony for you alone, will you let us seniors live? Let a group of old policemen watch a little guy get 2 first-class merits. That's not called watching a ceremony, it's slapping them in the face. Are you living like a dog, not as good as a little guy? At this time, Lu Yan personally replaced the epaulets on Lin Xian's police uniform. Second level police inspector. Deputy section level, leader of the Special Criminal Case Task Force. Lu Yan looked at the little guy in front of him. Come on. Lin Xian glanced at the epaulets, then looked out the window and saw the scorching sun. Running hard is to catch up with the self who was once highly expected. The road you have walked must be full of flowers and bustling with people. There must be a future. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 106. Special Criminal Case Task Force. Welcome our team leader. 8 team members lined up and applauded with laughter to welcome the new team leader. Lin Xian, who walked into the hall, was shocked. He deliberately frowned and said angrily, "A new official has 3 fires when he takes office. You all should be careful. If I start to deal with people, even I am afraid of myself." Haha. Everyone laughed, and everyone's face was filled with joy and happiness. Through 2 cases and yesterday's courtyard dinner, everyone almost knows what kind of person Lin Xian is and what kind of personality he has. Cheerful, sunny, funny, likes to talk dirty. The most important point is that everyone knows that Lin Xian's identity is not as simple as it seems. But he never puts on airs, but treats them as colleagues and friends. Who doesn't like such a person? And Lin Xian's character and ability. Needless to say, his ability is too terrifying. As for his character, in order to prevent his partners from being in danger, Lin Xian jumped into the elevator shaft without hesitation. Kill the criminals in the hail of bullets. If they were the first to jump in, they would probably have died gloriously. Everyone still remembers that scene. It can be said that Lin Xian's ability and character. He has completely defeated the arrogant soldiers of the Special Criminal Case Task Force. Looking at his colleagues in front of him, Lin Xian was also smiling. It's different from the case handling unit in his previous life. He likes the atmosphere here and the way everyone gets along with each other. What he likes most is that there are no so-called rules and regulations here. If there is a case, go to solve it. If there is no case, rest. Do whatever you want. It's easy. For him, the Special Criminal Case Task Force is like heaven. I like it very much. Team Leader's Office. The things are done, but you still have to go through the procedures. Wang Meng handed a gun license to Lin Xian. The so-called process. There is a process for police to obtain the qualification to carry a gun. It won't work if you don't pass it. Shooting assessment, psychological assessment, gun use standards. Understood. After receiving the gun license, Lin Xian understood, I will go to Brother Guo to learn shooting later. He has been coveting Guo Su's ability for a long time. If he doesn't get rid of all the abilities of this gun king, will he be worthy of his identity as a reborn? After the last encounter with an enemy who fired 4 shots per second, Lin Xian understood the importance of gun skills more and more. Don't think that he can shoot and kill people with guns now. But compared with real gun masters, he is not a little bit worse. Gun skills are also his biggest shortcoming now. In the shooting room, in front of Lin Xian and Guo Su, there are all kinds of guns and weapons. There are too many types of guns, each with its own special way of holding a gun, shooting action, reloading essentials, and shooting experience. The most important thing is a person's gun sense. Guo Su picked up a gun. From pistols, submachine guns, assault rifles, sniper rifles, grenade snipers, he patiently explained to Lin Xian and imparted his experience. Originally, Guo Su thought it was a very long process. It would take several months or even years to teach Lin Xian the gunmanship knowledge in the army. After all, he also learned, honed, and trained little by little in the army. But in half a day, Guo Su's heart was shocked by Lin Xian's learning ability. No, that's not learning. That's humming copying. Lin Xian can remember everything he has said clearly. Lin Xian can also apply everything he has taught once. Even all his movements, speeds, methods, are exactly the same. Guo Su was scared. Just like when Lao Wu taught Lin Xian the military skills of the army. Looking at Lin Xian's eyes, it was as if he was looking at a monster. The most terrifying thing is, because Lin Xian has physical fitness that ordinary people can hardly imagine, and has a terrifying body. The so-called recoil and shock of guns are a joke in front of him. It will greatly improve Lin Xian's accuracy and shooting speed when shooting. Let's make a simple analogy. Guo Su can also use a pistol to shoot 4 shots per second. This does not mean that you can just pull the trigger 4 times quickly. But the 4 shots must be within a certain range to ensure accurate strikes. This is already the limit of some gun masters. What makes Guo Su shudder is, Lin Xian can actually do 5 shots per second. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the two walked out of the shooting room. Guo Su's face was so pale and bloodless. It seemed that he was hit and scared. It seemed that he had encountered something incomprehensible and terrifying. He looked like he was doubting his life. He asked Lin Xian a few strange questions. Is there a guard in your sister's courtyard? Yes, Lin Xian nodded. And another very powerful one, Guo Su continued to ask. You said Lao Wu, he is quite powerful, Lin Xian laughed. Then Guo Su's expression became even weirder. Didn't he teach you how to shoot? I wanted to learn from him, but he didn't teach me. Lin Xian rolled his eyes. Brother, what a fool. Guo Su was silent. His expression kept changing, and finally he showed a smile that was uglier than crying. Gone. No, why did this guy look like he had eaten shit? Lin Xian was puzzled. Could it be that my learning ability was too strong, which hit his self-esteem as a master? Yes, it must be like this. Lin Xian is very happy now. With the things Guo Su taught me, as long as I practice for a while, I think I can become a disciple. In the future, when I meet an opponent who is good at playing with guns, I can easily deal with him. His last shortcoming has been made up. Great. 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Lin Xian drove a heavy SUV out of the underground parking lot of the Ministry of Public Security. Back to his parents' home. As soon as he got home, he was beaten by his mother. He also scolded the conscienceless calf. Forget your mother when you go out. Lin Xian began to coax his mother. He waited until his father came home to coax his mother. The family had a happy meal. Lin Xian still told the truth in front of his parents. I live with my 2 sisters now. After telling them about how he met the Mu sisters, he found that his parents' expressions became very strange. The strangest thing was, his parents didn't scold him, nor did they mention his cohabitation with the Mu sisters. His mother even kicked him out of the house and asked him to go back early to accompany the Mu sisters. The most interesting thing was that his father had a complicated expression when he sent him out of the house. Boy, I thought I was already awesome back then, but I didn't expect that you are even more awesome than your father. A university professor swore, so you can imagine how he feels now. Lin Xian walked out of the house with a black question mark on his face. No, what did I do? Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 107. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Lin Xian integrated himself into the Severe Special Criminal Case Task Force. Understand the working mode of the Special Criminal Case Task Force. Unlike other case handling units, As long as the Special Criminal Case Task Force receives a task, it will go directly. After the task is completed, leave immediately. The preliminary work and finishing work have nothing to do with them. Their mission is to win the case as quickly as possible. Other things are handled by others and they don't have to worry about it. And no one dares to take away their credit. That's seeking death. Unlike Lin Xian, who was given special care, he had already received the credit. The credit for the previous predicting future murder case in the Demon City was only received yesterday. This is already very fast. Because they themselves are members of the Ministry of Public Security. If you wanted to get credit for solving the case elsewhere, it would take a few months at the most. The first-class merit will be recorded once for the group, and the third-class merit for the whole group will be recorded once for each individual. And this time it involves organ transplantation and the shocking case of killing civilians in the Dragon Kingdom. The team members speculated that the collective first-class merit would be guaranteed. It is possible that each team member can also get a second-class personal merit. The way everyone looked at Lin Xian became complicated again. In both cases, Lin Xian was the one who contributed the most. They basically lie down and take credit and are fed into their mouths. This is no longer just chewing bones and drinking soup behind the little brother. This is like having a full banquet with Lin Xian. Taking credit is easier than eating and drinking. Yes, they are police, but police are also human beings. Aside from loving this profession, I have a heart to eliminate violence and be a good person. Who doesn't like receiving awards for meritorious service, promotions, and salary increases? Lin Xian, are you still missing some pendants on your legs? Zhang Zhaoyang pretended to squat down and hugged Lin Xian's thigh. I will be your little brother from now on. Big brother, from now on you will be my beacon and my Sunday following you is like a humming dream. Roll roll roll. Lin Xian kicked him away and scolded with a smile, you can hug my legs, so get in line first. Ha ha. The team members laughed. Before Lin Xian came, Zhang Xiaoyang is the little funny guy in the group, the pistachio and the skinny one. Now here comes another one. Is their Special Criminal Case Task Force finally going to start reorganizing? At night, leave a team member on duty. Others are off work. Unlike other case handling units that work overtime to the point of going crazy. They can rest normally. Unfortunately, happy time is always so short. 3 o'clock in the morning. The vibration of the cell phone woke up Lin Xian from his sleep. No, you guys don't have sex? Why do so many people like to call people in the middle of the night? Lin Xian's mentality almost collapsed. He glanced at the heartless Mu Qingtian who was sleeping in his arms. The little pervert was so arrogant that she would go directly to his room to sleep at night. The euphemistic name is, people are worried about their younger brother having nightmares, so they want to protect his younger brother. Hey, hey, hey. In fact, he tried every means to study his younger brother's body. Lin Xian's whole body had already been studied by her. While holding her gently, he reached for the phone. The call came from Pu Wenhui, a member of the team on duty, and Lin Xian's heart suddenly sank. Connect your cell phone. Case. Park Wenhui's voice was low, there is a very strange case reported below. If it is true, it should be quite scary. Lin Xian was in a daze. No verification of authenticity? Maybe it would be scary? What the hell is this? Lin Xian frowned, be clear. A man who had been missing for 8 years and had been listed as dead, suddenly appeared. Park Wenhui reported, through police interrogation, he revealed that he was being held in a very strange and terrifying prison. Prison, Lin Xian was stunned for a moment. After subsequent interrogation, Pu Wenhui spoke solemnly, this person said that there are many people imprisoned in that prison, maybe dozens or hundreds. They were all just like him. They had been imprisoned for a long time. Even they themselves didn't know how long they had been imprisoned. What is certain is that this prison is not an official prison. The facilities are in extremely poor condition and the death rate is extremely high. The prison guards are ruthless and will torture them every now and then. There are also some female prisoners who will be humiliated, abused, and played with inhumanely. According to this man's dictation, there is also a corpse pool in the prison that is specially designed to handle corpses. It can not only melt flesh and blood, but also corrode bones. The most terrifying thing is not these, the scary thing is. The people below suspect that this prison may be hidden in the Dragon Kingdom. Pu Wenhui's words made Lin Xian's scalp explode. Goosebumps appeared on my body. My head is full of question marks. Is there an unknown terrifying prison in the Dragon Kingdom? This is almost like making an international joke. In this era, have you read too many novels? Does anyone dare to imagine this to this extent? I also don't believe it, but since it was reported below, it must be investigated. Park Wenhui sounded helpless. I'll talk to the secretary first. Lin Xian's head was blown. After ending the call, he called Lu Yan's mobile phone again. About 5 or 6 seconds. What's the matter? Lu Yan's tone was not bad. No one has a good temper when they are woken up in the middle of the night. The people below reported that they requested our people to go over and check. Lin Xian reported, they said that a terrifying prison was found, which may be hidden in our country. Lu Yan was silent suddenly. For a long while. Her tone was strange. Why do I feel that the people below are deliberately making us laugh? I thought so when I received the call from the team members. Lin Xian was happy. Should we go directly there, or send someone to check it out first? If the special criminal case team goes directly there, the matter will be serious. Lu Yan also had a headache. Take a subordinate to check it out first and confirm it. Although I know that the people below dare not joke about such things. However, an unknown prison appeared in the territory of Longguo. Isn't it nonsense? I understand. Lin Xian ended the call and yawned. He lowered his head and kissed the beauty in his arms. He got up quietly and walked out of the room. Who knew that he was just about to go to the cloakroom? Suddenly, a door opened. Lin Xian and the people inside the room were stunned for a moment. Why did you get up? Lin Xian looked at Mu Qingjian and asked with a smile. I'm thirsty. Mu Qingjian returned to the room and wanted to close the door. Her pajamas were a little thin, a small camisole. Lin Xian was very fast, and he held her in his arms as soon as he stretched out his hand. You. Mu Qingjian was shocked and angry, and wanted to struggle. I have a mission and I have to go on a long journey. Lin Xian buried his cheek in the hair. Maybe I will be back in a few days. Mu Qingjian's eyebrows were drooping, and a light rouge appeared on her cheeks. She let him hold her for a while and gently reminded her. Be careful. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun Zhong. Chapter 108. H Province, Luocheng. Lin Xian and team member Zhang Xiaoyang walked out of the airport. Two policemen in white shirts came forward to greet them. The two shook hands without greeting and got into the police car. Luocheng, Zhejiang District. Lin Xian got out of the car. Accompanied by two white shirts, he entered a criminal investigation brigade. Interrogation room. A middle-aged man swallowed fast food in big mouthfuls. That fast food was obviously worth more than 10 or 20 yuan. But the man seemed to be eating delicacies from the mountains and the sea. Not only did he eat fast, but he also ate very carefully. Every grain of rice would not be missed. Even the soup in the fast food box was licked clean. Lin Xian stared at the surveillance screen on the monitor. He stared at the middle-aged man without blinking. On the evening of April 23, at 7:31, our city's 110 police station received a report that a person was found lying on the ground in a certain place, and a passerby called the police. The police arrived and found that the man was wearing abnormal clothes, had an abnormal body shape, and was in a coma. No identification documents or communication tools were found on him. The face scan was fruitless and no citizen information was found. The police sent the man to the nearest hospital for treatment. The doctor diagnosed that the man's body functions had long-term lack of nutrition, and there were many scars on his body. It was suspected that he had been abused for a long time. Later, the forensic diagnosis confirmed that the man had indeed been abused for a long time, and traces of being abused by some torture instruments were found on his body. After treatment, the man woke up, his mental state was abnormal, and he was suspected of suffering from mental illness. He would have a strong and unnecessary fear of everything, accompanied by avoidance behavior. Afterwards, after being comforted and induced by a psychologist, the man told his identity information, home address, and interpersonal relationships. After multiple investigations by police personnel, it was confirmed that the man was a missing person 8 years ago, and his identity information had been cancelled, so it could not be queried in the citizen database. Tien Boyu, male, 39 years old, age at the time of disappearance, now 47 years old. After DNA comparison with relatives, it was confirmed to be him. According to investigation data, Tien Boyu owned a listed company before his disappearance, and his personal assets were about 400 million. 4 years after Tien Boyu disappeared, his family applied to the court to cancel his account and divide his property. Our country has clear regulations that when a missing person has been missing for 4 years, he can be determined to be dead, and his family can cancel his account. Listening to the report of the local police, Lin Xian observed the middle-aged man for nearly 3 minutes. Retracting his gaze, he asked, "Why are his relatives not here? His wife remarried a long time ago and didn't come. His daughter came once." A man in a white shirt said, "Originally, his daughter wanted to take him away, but she left after hearing that he was involved in a case." Is society so cold? Lin Xian mocked in his heart. Walked out of the monitoring room and walked towards the interrogation room. The moment the door was opened, instantly, a pair of eyes like a beast looked over. Alert, terrified, alert. Lin Xian looked directly into these eyes. Seeing the middle-aged man shrinking in the interrogation chair, his whole body was trembling. It was like seeing a ghost, fear from the heart. "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you." A gentle and sunny smile appeared on Lin Xian's cheek. The tone also became slow and friendly, and the voice was a little warm. Raised his hands and made a gesture as if he was gently patting the air. The tone, expression, and action, combined, hypnosis induction. This is a soothing method that can relax others and make them relax and alert. Tien Boyu was stunned for a moment. But his eyes were still fixed on Lin Xian. Looking at his eyes, expression, and hands. Like a wounded beast, on guard against other beasts. "Don't worry, I'm a policeman, and I'm here to help you." Lin Xian slowly reached out and took out a police ID from his pocket. Handed it to Tien Boyu. When he saw the police ID, it can be clearly seen that Tien Boyu's vigilance and alertness have been reduced, but he is still staring at Lin Xian. It seems that as long as Lin Xian has a slightly inappropriate move, he will escape at the first time. A person. To what extent has he been tortured to show this state? Relax, you are safe now, and no one can hurt you. Lin Xian's eyes are bright and firm. Revealing a kind of trust, it can make people feel at ease. The corners of his mouth are also gently raised, forming a warm arc. It's as if the sun is shining in the heart, making people let go of their guard. He still made some strange gestures with his hands. At the beginning, he had a short contact with Professor Qian, a master of psychology. But Lin Xian still learned a lot of induction techniques from Professor Qian. He used his photographic memory to imprint all the processes of Professor Qian's hypnosis induction on others in his mind. Tian Boyu also gradually relaxed under Lin Xian's induction and comfort. The vigilance and alertness in his eyes were gradually weakening. "Your name is Tian Boyu, right?" Lin Xian smiled like sunshine. "Yeah." Tian Boyu responded and nodded cautiously. "Can you still remember what happened before you were imprisoned in that prison?" Lin Xian's eyes were deep and sincere. "Remember, remember." Tian Boyu seemed to be in pain, as if muttering to himself, "That day, I was in a bad mood." "Huh." Lin Xian's tone was gentle. "Why are you in a bad mood?" "Because my wife wants to divorce me." Tian Boyu sighed. "We have been separated for a long time. She filed for divorce, which made me feel very bad. After the bodyguard sent me home, I drank some wine and fell asleep on the bed. When I woke up again, I was locked in a small room and soon found that it was a prison." "Wait." Lin Xian was surprised. "You and your wife are separated. Your wife took the children to live somewhere else. You live with the bodyguard?" "Yes, my wife and children live somewhere else." Tian Boyu nodded, "But the bodyguard didn't live with me. After sending me back, he also left." "So?" Lin Xian's brows relaxed. "You were kidnapped in your sleep?" "Yes." Tian Boyu looked horrified. "Later, I was locked up in that prison." "How did you know that it was a prison?" Lin Xian's eyes became sharp. "Every 3 days, the cell will be opened, and we will go into a huge room for a walk." Tian Boyu trembled. "I can see many prisoners like me, both men and women, old and young, and 7 or 8 prison guards." "Pills." Lin Xian's expression was solemn. "There is no problem with Tian Boyu's pupil changes. There is no problem with the heartbeat. Through micro-expression psychology analysis, there is still no problem. Indirect proof that the horrible prison that Tian Boyu said. It may be real." Lin Xian was shocked beyond words. A mysterious prison that had been hidden in Dragon Country for at least 8 years. There were prison guards, a large area, and hundreds of people were imprisoned. Crimes were committed every day in this prison. It had not been noticed by the police for such a long time. It was not even known to the public. It was chilling to think about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 109. 4.5 hours later. All members of the Special Criminal Case Task Force arrived in Los Angeles. Lu Yan ordered Lin Xian and his team members. "Find the mysterious prison at all costs." "How dare you say that?" Lin Xian's teeth hurt. "At all costs?" This order was probably issued directly by the Ministry of Public Security. Because this prison is simply a provocation to the public security system and the laws of Longguo. It's not just rampant. If there really is such a prison, why don't you hide it honestly? You actually let a victim out in such a swagger. Are you crazy? Because anyone with a brain knows that this is a good hand of cards played badly. Even a mentally retarded person would say it's mentally retarded. But the people in the mysterious prison did it. If this is not a provocation to Longguo and the public security, what is it? There is a saying, a madman will be in trouble. Lin Xian, smoking a cigarette, squinted his eyes. Looking at Tian Boyu, who was also smoking in front of him. The clues about the mysterious prison are all on him at this time. It is also necessary to start from Tian Boyu, and there are many clues. First, investigate the whole process of Tian Boyu's kidnapping 8 years ago. Second, why did the other party kidnap Tian Boyu and put him in the mysterious prison? Third, who will benefit in the end after Tian Boyu is imprisoned in the mysterious prison? There is such a law in the criminal investigation world. Whoever makes the most profit is the biggest suspect. Taste this sentence carefully. So, who made the most profit in the 8 years when Tianboyu disappeared? Lin Xian sneered. Tianboyu's relatives. First is his wife, then his children, and finally his relatives. When Tianboyu disappeared, his first agent of property was his wife. If he is confirmed missing or dead, his first heir to property is also his wife, and the next person is his children. Finally, relatives? Through police investigation. Before Tianboyu got into trouble, he had about 400 million personal property. Sake makes people famous, and money moves people's hearts. Is it possible that this case is related to Tianboyu's wife? Or relatives? Wife, this is understandable. What the hell are relatives? In his previous life, Lin Xian had seen too many cases of fathers and sons becoming enemies, mothers and daughters becoming enemies, and brothers and sisters killing each other. Is it fresh? First of all, one thing must be clear. Humans are the most selfish creatures in the world. No one else. When it comes to their own core interests, humans can do anything. The Special Criminal Case Task Force began to act. Almost without Lin Xian's command, they knew how to investigate. With such a group of top old criminal investigation subordinates, Lin Xian can save a lot of brain cells. Just a hint, a look. They can understand your intentions and ideas. Don't be too awesome. Lin Xian's task is very simple, to dig out something from Tianboyu. He wants to thoroughly understand this mysterious and terrifying prison. When I was put in that prison, I almost went crazy. I was so panicked that I didn't know who I had offended. No one paid attention to me in the first few days, but every noon and evening, someone would bring me food. Cornmeal cakes, black flour buns, cabbage soup, pickles, all these things, no oil or meat. What made me even more desperate was that there were no windows in the entire prison, no place to escape, and the only way to get in and out was the iron door locked from the outside. In that seemingly indefinite prison room, I can only live a dark life every day. The only thing that can entertain me and not drive me crazy is the TV embedded in the wall with a layer of protective glass that I can never break. Those people seem to be afraid that I will go crazy, or that I will become depressed and mentally ill. Every time I eat those foods, I will feel very sleepy and slowly fall asleep. I don't know how long I will sleep each time, but what is certain is that I eat food twice and fall asleep twice. Don't ask me why I still eat those foods when I know they are problematic. Because hunger can drive people crazy. In that situation, even if you have a bite of food, you want to break it into 8 pieces and eat it bit by bit. But after you eat it, you will be even hungrier and look forward to the next time you can eat. Every 3 days, the cell will open automatically, and I can follow a strange corridor and enter a huge house that looks like a large factory. In that house, I can see many prisoners like me. However, the prison guards will watch us and not let us talk to anyone, even if 2 people look at each other for a long time. As long as we are discovered by those prison guards, they will shoot us with high-pressure air guns and rubber bullet guns. Being hit by this kind of gun is really painful, and hitting the vitals can kill people. Through these years of observation, I have discovered a phenomenon that scares me. The prisoners in custody may all be rich people. Because there are a few people who I seem to have seen somewhere vaguely. They should be the bosses of some companies, some groups, or some enterprises. When I found out about this, I was really scared and panicked. I thought that the reason why these people kidnapped me and put me in this prison was to do harm to my family and take away me, the property of. But in the past 8 years, they have not asked me at all, no prison guard has spoken to me, and no one has come to see me. Just keep me locked up, torture me, and use some terrible instruments of torture on me from time to time. You asked me how to calculate time. Because there is a time on the TV, it broke once a year, and someone came to replace the TV. It was that time that I discovered that there was a monitor hidden in the prison. I searched for it for a long time, and finally found a black spot the size of a match head on the ceiling, which was a mini monitor. Over the years, I often wanted to commit suicide because I couldn't bear it anymore, and I committed suicide several times. But every time when I want to commit suicide, or in the process of committing suicide, some prison guards will appear and torture me in some painful ways, beating me severely, making me miserable and making my life worse than death. Slowly, I no longer dare to have any thoughts of committing suicide, because once I die, the pain I will suffer will be more terrible than death. In the following years, I gradually became numb and my spirit was on the verge of collapse. I thought I would be detained in that prison until I died. But when I fell asleep, I woke up again and found myself in the hospital with police around me. At this point, Tien Boyu had already burst into tears, crying heartbreakingly. I was actually saved, they let me go. Solving the case is a little bitter, but my sister is super sweet. Author, Kisiun. Chapter 110. Lin Xian's mind has already imagined a prison scene. Through Tien Boyu's narration. This mysterious prison is too big. Each cell is about 20 square meters. The whole prison holds more than 100 prisoners. The prison guards also need to rest and sleep, so their rooms are not small. There is also a kitchen that can cook for more than 100 people. How big is the area? The ingredients will not be bought and cooked immediately, so a huge warehouse is also needed. Oh, right. There is also a larger room that can accommodate more than 100 people for exercise, which is comparable to a super large warehouse. When all the areas are added together, it must be at least 5,000 square meters, right? It may even be larger. The terrible problem is here. These prisoners can watch TV and use water every day, and there is heating in winter. They also have to deal with excrement. Lin Xian was stunned. If such a place is really in Longguo, how could it not be discovered? How could it be hidden for so many years? Are you sure it's not a science fiction movie? What the hell is this dirty thing? Lin Xian, who came to his senses, was shocked. But because of this, he was excited. The more powerful the bad guys are, the more comfortable it will be to hum them. To be honest, my little hands are already thirsty. Under Lin Xian's order, the Los Angeles police prepared a lounge for Tien Boyu. A psychologist and a special caregiver were also invited. There are 4 criminal police guarding 24 hours a day. Although Tien Boyu is a victim, it is impossible for him to go home. For the time being, I can only say sorry to him. Before the mysterious prison is found, he must stay with the police. As for Wang Meng and others' investigation of Tien Boyu's family, a piece of news has been found. Tien Boyu's wife has a problem. Just dozing off, someone sent a pillow. Los Angeles, a high-end residential area. A luxurious apartment. At this time, Wang Meng and Ji Yang were looking at the woman in front of them coldly. About 20 minutes later, Lin Xian arrived. Zhao Huiying, female, 46 years old, housewife, Tien Boyu's ex-wife. After reading the other party's personal information, Lin Xian was stunned. The word housewife is very eye-catching. 4 years ago, Zhao Huiying inherited her ex-husband's property of more than 400 million yuan. After the police investigation, in just 4 years, she squandered the property worth more than 400 million yuan. There is less than 3 million left. In 1 year, more than 100 million was squandered. I'm humming. This can no longer be described as squandering. This is simply against the sky. As for how the money was squandered, Wang Meng and others also found out. Zhao Huiying often goes to Xiangshanao to play. There are many casinos here. Every time she goes to Xiangshanao, Zhao Huiying's personal account has a large amount of fund transfer transaction records. As for what she did, do I need to say it? Lin Xian looked at the woman in front of him with a completely changed look. At this time, Zhao Huiying was in a state of panic and her face was ashen. She seemed very afraid of the police. What did that sentence say? Only cheating students are afraid of the invigilator. If you haven't violated the law, why are you afraid of the police? Tell me. Lin Xian sat in front of her, why are you afraid of the police? Zhao Huiying lowered her head and remained silent. Wang Meng just found her and interrogated her. She also kept her mouth shut and said nothing. She looked very scared. Do you think we can't do anything to you without any evidence? Lin Xian exaggerated, maybe you think too much. Believe it or not, we can send you to prison even without evidence. Suddenly, Zhao Huiying's body trembled. As if she was frightened by Lin Xian's words. But Lin Xian suddenly widened his eyes and stared at the woman in front of him. Something is wrong. Her fear was not because of what she said just now. But, prison. Yes, when she heard the word prison. She trembled. Why is she so sensitive to these two words? Prison. Lin Xian stared at Zhao Huiying, who was looking down. Are you afraid of prison? Her face turned pale. Her eyes began to be filled with fear. Lin Xian confirmed. She was indeed afraid of prison. If I remember correctly, there was no criminal record in Zhao Huiying's file, let alone any record of being punished and imprisoned. A person who had never even seen what the warden looked like. Why was she so panicked and afraid? Lin Xian's eyes suddenly became strange, and he said something. Do you know that prison, the prison where your ex-husband is imprisoned? Instantly, everyone present changed color. Zhao Huiying shuddered and her face turned pale. Her body, especially her legs, seemed to tremble uncontrollably. Her performance also made Lin Xian and others' eyes light up instantly. But the next second, Zhao Huiying suddenly raised her head and roared, I didn't do anything, why did you come to me? Lin Xian was stunned. Not only him. Wang Meng and others were also stunned. Why? Because of Zhao Huiying's eyes. At this moment, those eyes were bright, upright, and firm. If I had to describe them in one word, upright. And such a pair of eyes, in the eyes of a group of old criminal detectives. It is definitely not the eyes that a criminal can have. Why? She obviously has something abnormal, and it is possible that she knows about the mysterious prison. But why does she have such a pair of eyes? Suddenly, Lin Xian asked, your ex-husband is back, do you know? Zhao Huiying's angry face was sluggish for a moment. Unconsciously, a touch of tenderness appeared on her face. But it was replaced by a trace of indifference in an instant. I seem to have caught a bug. Lin Xian felt that his brain was in an unbearable storm. Because he had a feeling. Zhao Huiying in front of him should not have harmed her ex-husband Tian Boyu. But she happened to be related to her ex-husband being kidnapped and imprisoned in a mysterious prison. What Lin Xian couldn't figure out the most was Zhao Huiying actually still had feelings for her ex-husband. The tenderness on her face just now was not fake. True feelings were revealed. Suddenly, Lin Xian once again asked a strange question, you can't say it, right? Instantly, Zhao Huiying was stunned again. She looked at Lin Xian stupidly. So that's it? Lin Xian stretched out his hand and pinched his eyebrows, you still have him in your heart, but you know that prison. When the police asked you about your ex-husband, you couldn't say it? By the way, did you really squander the more than 400 million in wealth? And your expression just now seemed to be not surprised that your ex-husband could come back. As Lin Xian spoke, every time he said a word, Zhao Huiying's face would turn pale. When she heard the following words, the look in Zhao Huiying's eyes when she looked at Lin Xian was like looking at a god. Her face was full of shock, even horror. It seemed to be asking, "How do you know?"